In the dim half-light of Montezuma II's palace in Tenochtitlan, a young woman from an aristocratic lineage stands chosen for the purity ritual. She is naked, her skin shivering from the chill of unyielding stone slabs beneath her bare feet. Her heart pounds like a war drum, breath coming in quick, shallow gasps, as if the air thickens with dread. Around her swirls the heavy scent of incense mingled with the sharp tang of men's sweat. Priests in feathered headdresses and elite warriors clad in obsidian armor. The rustle of silk fabrics as they shift blends with the low hum of their voices like distant thunder rumbling before a storm. She feels their piercing gazes upon her, burning like hot coals, stripping away every inch of her being. This taboo, unknown and forbidden, will shatter her honor, defile her soul and body, turning her into a tool in the hands of the Emperor God. We know the Aztecs as builders of a grand, sacred empire. But did you know that behind the gleam of Tenochtitlan, behind the pyramids and gold, lurked a system of sexual enslavement among the elite, where even daughters of chiefs became victims of Montezuma II's rituals, weaving power, religion, and violence into an inescapable nightmare. Today, I'll uncover the hidden truth of these taboo practices that devoured bodies and spirits cloaked in divine will. But what awaits her next will surpass any nightmare. Subscribe now to discover the truth censored by Spanish chronicles, because history doesn't forgive silence. Picture Tenochtitlan, the beating heart of the Aztec Empire under Montezuma II, a city floating on the waters of Lake Texcoco like a jewel in the god's crown. Canals snake lazily through its streets, carrying canoes laden with treasures. Gold gleaming in the sun like the scales of the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl. Cacao beans that serve as the empire's currency. Obsidian blades sharp as a jaguar's fangs. At the center rise the pyramids, their steps steeper than mountains, topped with temples where incense smoke curls toward the heavens, and priests in feathered headdresses chant songs of harmony with the cosmos. This is an era of philosophy where humans bridge earth and sky. Warriors return from conquests bearing tributes for Tezcatlipoca and Huitzilopochtli, while elite banquets in the palaces fill the air with the aroma of roasted turkey, fermented pulque, and the sweet scent of flowers. Montezuma II, the ninth ruler, embodies this glory. His court is a symphony of drums and flutes, where poets recite epics of world creation and astronomers track the stars to maintain divine order. The empire stretches from the highlands to the coasts, honoring principles of balance. Sacrifices to the gods ensure rain, harvests, and victories. It's a noble civilization, mystical, forging paths to eternity. But is it really? Or does a shadow lurk behind this facade of gold and feathers, one that devours souls? Our heroine, Xochitl, daughter of a noble eagle, warrior from a high-ranking clan, grows up in this radiance. She is 20 harvests old, her skin sun-kissed from the shores of Texcoco, her eyes black as the night over the lake. Raised on tales of heroes, she believes in the empire's harmony. Elite women like her are guardians of tradition, wives and mothers weaving flowers into rituals for the goddess Coatlicue. But beneath the surface, something simmers. Aztec society is a pyramid as rigid as stone. At the apex, the Tlatoani, Montezuma, the living god, whose word is cosmic law. Below, nobles, warriors, priests. At the base, farmers and slaves, offered in sacrifice to feed the sun. Women? They are not free. Even the elite, daughters of chiefs, are property of the empire. Their bodies belong to the gods, and the gods speak through the ruler. Xochitl feels this for the first time during the Xochitl festival, when the streets of Tenochtitlan pulse with dances and the smells of sizzling corn on open fires. The marketplace throbs with life. Vendors hawk turquoise and parrot feathers, drums boom like the crowd's heartbeat, and the air carries the scent of smoke from altars. She, in an embroidered gown of quetzal feathers, stands among her peers, laughing about future marriages. But then the summons comes. A messenger in a black cloak, bearing the seal of the eagle and jaguar, whispers in her ear, "Daughter, the emperor calls you to the palace for the purity ritual of the goddess Xochitl. Xochitl, the goddess of filth and redemption, keeper of the heart's secrets, who devours sins to purify the soul. Her cult is the essence of Aztec sexuality, fertility rites where the body becomes an altar and the act of love a bridge to divinity." But Xochitl has heard the whispers. In the shadows of the pyramids, at the wells where women wash garments, rumors circulate of night rituals, secret ceremonies in the palace where the elite, chosen by Montezuma, must surrender to group acts for the god's blessing. "It's not love," the elders murmur. "It's sacrifice, where bodies entwine in the name of the empire and honor dies in the dark." Xochitl feels a chill on her neck despite the day's heat. Her hand trembles as she clutches her jade bracelet, a gift from her father, a symbol of strength. Doubt stirs like a serpent in the grass. Why her? Why must daughters of the nobility, those who dance for the gods, kneel before the living God? Montezuma II, the ruler with a face hidden behind a turquoise mask, is no mere king. He is the incarnation of Tezcatlipoca, the one who demands everything. His harems, concealed in the palace's labyrinths, hold not just wives but hundreds of women from the empire's elite, compelled into rituals where sexuality becomes a chain. The rites of Xochitl demand purification, an act that washes away sins but in truth binds the soul to the ruler's will. Women, even aristocrats, lose autonomy. Their bodies are currency for loyalty, a tool to forge tribal alliances, ensuring the elite won't rebel against divine order. Xochitl glides through the canals in a canoe, the vessel rocking on the water, but her mind swirls with questions. The scent of lotus mixes with the lake's salt, yet it offers no comfort against the rising fear. "It's an honor," she tells herself, recalling her mother's lessons on duty to the empire. But her heart races uneasily, like a drum before battle. In the palace, amid columns of volcanic stone, guards in feathers and obsidian watch her impassively. For them, it's routine. She hears the distant murmur of fountains, but beneath it, the quiet hum of prayers. Montezuma selects the victims personally, those to serve in hidden chambers where night ceremonies unfold. Not for pleasure, but for power. The sexual act with the elite is a ritual that binds the empire, making all dependent on the God King's will. Rumors speak of group gatherings, noble women and men intertwining in Xochitl's name, under priests' watchful eyes, amid copal smoke and songs that sound like laments. Xochitl feels nausea rise. From the festival's excitement, it shifts to astonishment, then mounting unease. Is this truly divine will? Does the empire that builds pyramids to the sky also claim its daughters' souls? Here the myth of the noble Aztec civilization begins to crack. They were not just warriors and stargazers. Their system, Montezuma II's imperial machine, was ruthless. Religion, the very force that built temples, justified the sexual enslavement of the elite. Women from the highest houses had no choice. Refusal was heresy, punishment, death, or exile. Montezuma, as the living god, claimed all. His harems numbered in the hundreds, and Xochitl's rituals veiled the truth. Sexuality as a tool of control, where the elite became hostages to their own allegiance. Xochitl senses the trap closing around her, from innocent surprise to helplessness, as if the palace walls are jaws of a jaguar snapping shut. Her breath quickens, skin prickles in the shadows chill. "Why me?" she whispers in her thoughts, but the answer lies in the system. The empire demands sacrifices to endure, and she is one of them. But behind the curtain of splendor lurked a horror that touched everyone, even those who believed in divine order. What happens when Xochitl delves deeper into the palace labyrinth? The truth of these taboo practices will shake you to the core. Xochitl crosses the threshold into the palace's inner sanctum, where the air thickens with copal smoke burning in clay skulls. Walls of polished basalt swallow the torchlight, casting long shadows like the fingers of Tezcatlipoca, the god of night and temptation. This is no ordinary hallway, it's the gateway to the system's core, Montezuma II's imperial machine, where religion entwines with power in a web that strangles souls. Montezuma, the ninth Tlatoani, is no mere ruler. He is the embodiment of a god, son of the sun, whose body and will sustain cosmic balance. His harem, hidden in a labyrinth of over 100 chambers, holds hundreds of women from the empire's elite, daughters of chiefs, wives of nobles, sisters of priests. These are not lovers by choice. They are the chosen, dedicated to rituals that mask brutal control under divine mandate. The cult of Tlazolteotl, goddess of desire and redemption, and Tezcatlipoca, guardian of secrets and betrayal, becomes the instrument. Sexuality is no freedom, but sacrifice, forging loyalty. The system operates like a well-oiled mechanism, step by step, devouring bodies to keep the empire alive. First step, selection. Each year, during lunar cycles, priests review noble rosters, picking those who serve the gods. Xochitl's name, inscribed on amate bark with a turquoise quill, feels like her world shrinking to this narrow corridor. Silent guards, statue-like, lead her to Tlazolteotl's temple, buried beneath the palace, where lake moisture seeps through cracks. The air here is heavy, laced with damp earth and dried herbs. Sage and ground jaguar blood turn to powder. The temple is a maze of cells, lit only by the glow of obsidian mirrors reflecting faces like ghosts. Priests in black robes, their faces painted white and red for death and rebirth, encircle her. For the cosmos balance, they whisper in unison, their voices like rustling leaves before a storm. It's no accident. The system demands elite sacrifices to instill fear of rebellion in the nobility. Even hints of incestuous ties in the emperor's inner circles, where divine blood mingles in rituals, deepen the taboo. Family becomes an extension of the harem, and boundaries blur into norm under power. Second step, isolation. Xochitl is locked in a small chamber, windowless, where the only light filters through wicker grates. Days blur in silence, broken by distant ritual drums, thumping like the empire's heartbeat. Her feathered gown is taken, replaced by a rough reed mat that scratches her skin. Food, corn and beans, comes through a slot, but hunger is not just physical. It's a starvation for freedom. The system cuts her off from family. Her father, a warrior scarred from battles, cannot intervene. The emperor's summons is the god's decree. In this solitude, the soul breaks, forced to contemplate the body as property. Priests visit at night, reciting hymns to Tlazolteotl. The goddess devours your sins to cleanse the heart. But Xochitl senses the lie. Purification is mere pretext for acts that will defile. Third step, body markings. Before the ritual comes the marking, ritual incisions, symbols of gods etched or burned into the skin. Xochitl is bound to a lava altar, wrists and ankles secured with maguey ropes, rough as cactus spines. A priest with a chalcedony knife slices her arms and abdomen, gently but agonizingly, letting blood flow into clay bowls. The metallic tang of blood mixes with myrrh, burning in censers. Her own blood, warm and sticky, drips onto the stone, forming a serpent pattern. Tlazolteotl's sign, the priest explains, his breath hot on her face. These symbols, spirals of desire, Tezcatlipoca's eyes, brand her as owned. She cannot hide them under cloth, cannot wash them away. Among the elite, it deepens the taboo. cuts remind of incidental incestuous links, where sisters or cousins share beds for divine unity, shattering sacred family lines. Xochitl bites her lip, tasting salty blood. The pain burns like fire, but the shame is worse. Her body, once her clan's pride, becomes a map of degradation. Fourth step, coercion into taboo acts. This is the system's climax, rituals where sexuality turns to offering for the gods. Group ceremonies, laced with pain, simulate temptation and redemption. Elite women, marked and isolated, forced into acts with priests, warriors, and sometimes Montezuma himself to feed the cosmos. It's no chaos, it's engineered power, each act reinforcing hierarchy. The elite lose freedom, becoming hostages, while the emperor gains allegiance. Taboos escalate, hints of incestuous palace rites where divine blood mixes for lineage purity, or group entwinements in circles with whips and chains for godly discipline. Xochitl, trembling in her cell, hears whispers from others. Pain is the gift, the act the prayer. But in her heart, rebellion stirs, quiet like leaf rustle. First wounds. They drag Xochitl into Tlazolteotl's main temple chamber, where the floor slicks with oil and blood from those before. Priests strip her slowly, their hands dry and cold as stone, brushing her skin, not tenderly, but with ritual precision. Shame ignites within. Her breasts rise with ragged breaths, skin crawling under their gazes, veiled by feather masks. Purification begins with ointments, a blend of cacao, chili, and serpent blood, rubbed in with bone spatulas. The burn is instant. Skin reddens as if the goddess's fire licks her alive. The scent, sharp, earthy, with a metallic blood note, chokes her throat. The priest cuts her palm to add her blood to the mix. A drop trails down her fingers, warm and viscous, mingling with fierce sweat. Priest's whispers envelop her like fog. Tlazolteotl consumes your filth, surrender your secrets. The first touch, a priest's fingers on her belly, working the ointment, feels like a knife to the heart. Xochitl clenches her teeth, tears stinging her eyes. Humiliation outweighs the pain. Her body, sacred to her family, becomes an altar to strangers. She feels dignity ebbing with each caress, like blood from the cut. This is just the start, where the system sinks its first hook into the soul. Her breath hitches, heart slamming against ribs. Self-pity mixes with fury at God's demanding this. But the system knows no mercy. Xochitl feels the temple walls closing in, copal smoke stinging her eyes, whispers growing louder. What if this is only the beginning? The truth of these rituals hidden from the world will shake you. The system tightens. From the cell, they lead Xochitl to a larger hall where a circle of women awaits, the other chosen. She sees them for the first time, sisters from jaguar clans, wives of warriors, their faces pale under ochre layers, eyes empty as a storm-cleared lake. There are dozens, rosters of the chosen scrawled on scrolls, distributed across provinces like harvest taxes. The system demands services for the emperor. Every noble house must yield a daughter or wife per cycle in exchange for land protection and titles. It's no one-time offering, it's a loop repeating monthly, shattering families like a gale topples huts. Xochitl recognizes one, Xochitl, her cousin, whose laughter once filled their home. Now she huddles, scars fresh on her arms, ointment scent lingering on her skin. She was here before you, an elder woman whispers, voice trembling like a wind-tossed leaf. The system grinds relentlessly. Post-ritual, women return home but marked, broken, bearing the secret's weight. Families stay silent. Rumor is treason, punishment the pyre. Xochitl watches mothers plead with priests for mercy, but the lists are unforgiving. For the empire's balance, tributes for services, cacao and gold offerings turn it economic. The elite pay with flesh for privileges. Xochitl feels hope draining. She's not alone, but that crushes her. Hundreds of souls in the web, torn from loved ones, forced to repeat. Her hands shake, touching her scar. The hall reeks of blood and others sweat like a collective wail. Loss of hope creeps slow, like rust on a blade. First doubts, then void. But the system bars escape. Guards watch, drums thump, reminders of order. Xochitl thinks of her father, waiting in ignorance. The separation aches like an open wound. The horrors scale. Provinces, cities, the whole empire overwhelms. No accident, but a machine crushing elites for one man's power. In this wave, Xochitl sheds her illusions. The empire she loved is a monster feeding on its own. Her breath shallows, heart slows like dying embers. But the climax looms. Climax of cruelty. At night, they escort her to Montezuma's palace heart, a vast hall with gold and jade mosaic ceilings, where air quivers from bone flutes' music, low and hypnotic, like Tezcatlipoca's whisper. Montezuma sits on a throne of feathers and jade, face veiled by an obsidian mask, eyes gleaming like stars in the abyss. He is no king, a god demanding tribute. Xochitl, as intermediary, stands at the circle's center. Elite warriors in headdresses, priests with thorn whips, other marked women like her. The system peaks, group ritual where acts weave a power net, pain elements for godly discipline. They bind her with maguey ropes to lava pillars, the grip crushes, fibers digging into skin like acid. Her body tenses, sweat tracing her back, mixing with ointment. Salt tastes bitter on lips from unstoppable tears. The flute's melody overwhelms, muffled yet omnipresent, drowning cries. First act, a priest, hands rough from ritual ash, touches her. Pain blends with coercion, body responding against will, soul screaming. Then warriors, their breaths heavy, sweat and blood scent filling the hall like fog. Montezuma watches, his presence death shadow. Taboo hints deep in the nightmare. One woman is a warrior's sister, incidental incestuous echo in the elite, where divine unity shatters all bounds. A thorn whip lashes Xochitl's back mid-act, sharp, searing pain, blood dripping warm and sticky underfoot. Cries, hers and others, sink into the music, but echoes vibrate in bones. Fear's stench thick as torch smoke, skin burns from touches, fluttering then brutal, heart fractures from shame. Xochitl feels utterly broken, dignity shattered like clay under a god's foot, hope crushed like a flower in divine grasp. This is no sex, it's soul rape, where the system claims all, body, honor, will. Her tears flow, salt-stinging wounds. Her mind flashes to her mother, but even that fades in darkness. In this climax, Xochitl shatters completely, breath catching in sobs, body quaking in chains, soul drowning in the void. The system triumphs, but the cost is eternal. In this peak of pain, when empathy burns within you, share this story, so the truth about forgotten victims doesn't vanish into history's shadow. Silence only strengthens the system. As Xochitl lies on the cold reed mat in her chamber after the ritual, her body etched with scars and memories, the system doesn't end with her. It spills out like blood from an altar across the entire empire. This is no isolated nightmare, but a machine that consumed thousands of souls, weaving personal tragedies into the grand tapestry of Aztec history. Montezuma II, ruling from 1502 to 1520, built his realm not just on wars and pyramids, but on the bodies of elite women who became the invisible pillars of power. In Tenochtitlan, the city of over 200,000 souls floating on Lake Texcoco like an island in a sea of reeds, the emperor's harem stood as no outlier. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of noblewomen, daughters of provincial chiefs from places like Texcoco, Tlaxcala, or even distant Aztlan, the mythical founding city of the Aztecs, were funneled into the palace each year. Aztlan, the legendary birthplace where the Mexica tribes began their migration to the Valley of Mexico, according to ancient myths, symbolized the roots of these practices. From the 14th century onward, since Tenochtitlan's founding in 1325 amid the swamps, Xochitl and Tezcatlipoca rituals formed the bedrock of culture. These weren't Montezuma's invention. They were a tradition spanning centuries, evolving from simple fertility ceremonies into a tool of imperial dominance. Envision the scale. In provinces like Cholula or Texcoco, local rulers had to deliver tributes, not just gold and cacao, but daughters and wives of the nobility. Chronicles estimate that during the empire's peak under Montezuma, harems and temples swallowed hundreds of women annually. Some accounts, like those from Spanish conquistador Bernal Diaz del Castillo, though biased, reference thousands of god slaves, including coerced elite. These women weren't faceless. They were sisters of generals, mothers of future warriors, keepers of clan secrets. Integration with trade, cacao, turquoise, and quetzal feathers flowed to Tenochtitlan in exchange for peace. But the real price was flesh. Politics, tribal alliances solidified through rituals, where a Texcoco chief's daughter became a mediator in the palace, breaking blood and honor barriers. Montezuma's wars, conquests southward to the Pacific coasts, demanded unwavering loyalty. Sexual control over the elite ensured provinces wouldn't revolt, as every family held a hostage in the harem. Numbers are approximate, for the Aztecs tallied souls differently than Europeans, but archaeological evidence, from codices like the Borgia or Aubin, reveals cyclical rites spanning dozens of temples. In Tenochtitlan, with its canals and chinampas floating gardens, rituals hid behind feather curtains, where the scent of myrrh and blood blended with the lake's briny tang. Sounds. Xochitl drums, thumping low like the empire's pulse, Tlapetzali flutes screeching through the night, muffling victims' whispers. Women, from goddesses to sacrifices. Xochitl revered as mother and seductress, yet her priestesses, drawn from the elite, ended marked and shattered. Women's role in Aztec culture was dual. In myths, life creators; in reality, power's currency. From the empire's inception in 1325 through reigns of Xochitl and Xochitl, practices grew. What began as local rites became a system where sexuality fueled expansion. Montezuma II, on the eve of Cortez's arrival, intensified it. His campaigns needed armies of 200,000 warriors marching loyal, rituals breeding the fear of uprising. Why did it work? The benefits gleamed sharp as an obsidian blade. Sexual control fortified elite loyalty. Nobles, yielding daughters, became tethered. Betrayal meant family disgrace, loved ones' deaths. Religion sanctified it all. For cosmic balance, priests intoned, intertwining taboos with divine will. The empire swelled. Under Montezuma, territory doubled, from Anahuac highlands to southern jungles, via tributes and bonds sealed in harems. Tribute politics, gold from Michoacán, cacao from Soconusco, poured in because chiefs feared for their women. Military expansion, legions advanced because the elite knew rebellion spelled a lineage's end. Rituals weren't haphazard, they engineered dominance, women's bodies, chains linking provinces to the core. In temples like the Templo Mayor, heart sacrifice smoke mingled with ritual ointment aromas. Tlaxochimaco festival drums, flower feasts, veiled the laments. Xochitl in darkness heard it all. Distant thuds echoing her heartbeat, reminders of the web ensnaring the realm. Thousands of women, from Aztlan to Tlaxcala, branded with symbols, cycling through. No divine offerings, but the emperor's engine. Yet this horror didn't perish with the Aztecs. Expanding the lens reveals echoes in the present. Power systems still twist bodies. Political scandals, where elites, Actresses, models, magnates' daughters become pawns of the mighty, as in Shanabanak Me Too exposures or court intrigues. Gender violence and conflicts, from Middle East wars to corporate harems, proves taboos endure, just in modern garb. Religions and ideologies justify it yet. For the greater good, party loyalty. In our camera-filled world, thousands of women silence themselves because the system, corporate, political, cultural, threatens ruin. Montezuma II taught that body control equals empire control. Today, in skyscrapers, not pyramids, it persists. Fears scent in boardrooms, keyboard clacks drowning cries. The same reverberation, Xochitl embodies millions, ancient to now, where power exacts tribute. This scale realization ignites rage, not at one victim, but the system enduring centuries and thriving today. Montezuma's realm fell to conquistadors' boots, but its gears survive, lurking in our civilization's shadows. How does it shape Xochitl? And what if similar darkness hides closer than we think? Xochitl, led from the palace at dawn, lifts her gaze to the stars over Tenochtitlan. Fading glimmers in the lake's dew. Her breath, shallow and trembling, carries a memory of freedom. Wind's laughter in Quetzal feathers, her mother's gentle touch. She whispers a prayer to Tlazolteotl, not for redemption, but oblivion. Yet the scars on her skin burn, a reminder of the price. Empires rise on blood and taboos, and the truth of their victims is the key to breaking the cycle. When we turn from the past shadows, they creep back in new guises, haunting our world. Subscribe for more revelations, share your thoughts on Aztec taboos in the comments, and watch the next video about ancient Rome's ritual abuses. Don't let history stay silent. Silence feeds the monsters.